asking for the gag order and explaining how he's talking too much. He's threatening to post stuff on public sites. So what I think is this looks good for Baldoni, right? He's like, we want to make it all public. And sometimes lawyers can do this knowing that they can't actually do what they say they're going to do.
And that's part of the point that Justin's team is making in kind of complying with what they're viewing as threats made on her behalf against Justin is like, well, there's this financial consequence to everything in addition to the strike consequences too, right? So they filmed May to June, then shut down for the strike, and then they were down until January. But I think that the strike lifted in November, but then she had all these return to work provisions.
That she became uncomfortable with Justin Baldoni yesterday while she was filming. She states that Mr. Baldoni put his bare hands on her backside and said that he was trying to help her with her posture. Complainant immediately voiced her displeasure with being touched on an intimate part of her body, and Mr. Baldoni responded with, "It's fine. I'm totally hot for my wife," in a dismissive tone.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone-deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's floundering image.
Then did this crazy thing called reading Justin Baldoni's countersuit and was like, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but everything that I'm reading here points to the fact that Blake Lively manipulated her audiences and lied to her audiences. And like, I'm kind of shocked as someone who fully believed her. And he's just basically as psychotic as me.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on. Correct. And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money. Yep. And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
Did anyone ever imagine that the once glowing Hollywood darling, Blake Lively, would end up at the center of such a polarizing controversy? For years, her image radiated pure perfection. She was poised, beloved by the fashion world, respected by her peers, and admired by an enormous fan base. She had the adoring husband, the enviable lifestyle, and the unstoppable career. Yet here we are, with social media feeds brimming with backlash and industry insiders whispering that she may have gone too far in her quest for creative control. Make no mistake, this story isn't your run-of-the-mill celebrity gossip. We're witnessing something far more dramatic: the rapid unraveling of a carefully crafted public persona, an actor's alleged grab for power, and a legal tug-of-war that has turned half of Hollywood upside down. Today, we're diving into the details of how Blake Lively, once the embodiment of America's sweetheart, ended up scrambling for her reputation, while Justin Baldoni, the man she was rumored to have tried to bury, stands tall in the court of public opinion. The burning question everyone's asking is, how did it go so wrong so fast? And is there any path left for Blake to salvage a reputation she spent years building? Let's find out. Long before controversy struck, Blake Lively was the quintessential success story. She burst onto the scene with a role in a popular teen series, and it didn't take Hollywood long to notice that she had both the screen presence and the real-life charm to become a star. As she transitioned from television to film, her roles in romantic dramas and comedic hits solidified her it girl status. Fans adored her, the press praised her, and every red carpet she stepped onto turned into a style event. In a world obsessed with picture-perfect celebrity couplings, her marriage to Ryan Reynolds only magnified the hype. Together they became everyone's favorite comedic pair, charming talk show hosts, witty Twitter banter, and adorable moments on Instagram. For a while, everything about them seemed so genuinely affectionate and lighthearted that they felt untouchable. But the truth, as many fans have lately discovered, can be far more complicated. Even as her fame soared, rumors occasionally trickled out about behind-the-scenes tension on set or demands that seemed a bit above the norm. At the time, these whispers felt like minor footnotes in an otherwise spotless reputation. However, with hindsight, some folks say the alarm bells were already ringing. They just didn't realize how loud they'd become. But the real story would begin once a certain film project ignited a controversy no one saw coming. Longtime fans will recall that Blake Lively had been labeled America's sweetheart, a term that suggests warmth, approachability, and a complete lack of ego. Yet a handful of industry insiders have quietly murmured that, behind closed doors, she's not so easygoing. Over the years, rumors surfaced that she liked having a decisive say in projects, sometimes more than her official role would warrant. No one paid serious attention. After all, plenty of actors are hands-on when they care about a film. Besides, the rumor mill often invents drama where none exists. Indeed, whenever a story emerged about her allegedly clashing with a director or heavily influencing creative decisions, fans defended her, pointing out her visible passion and entrepreneurial drive. And for a while, that was enough to keep these darker whispers from exploding into anything bigger. Still, there's a question that's lingered in the background. Was she truly just an enthusiastic collaborator, or was she quietly pushing boundaries? From day one? We never had a definitive answer, until everything changed with It Ends With Us. The tension that followed would be bigger, louder, and more public than anyone could have expected. And this time, no amount of red carpet charm was going to cover up the unfolding chaos. But that was only the beginning of the real storm. The film adaptation of It Ends With Us started out as a major buzz project. Fans of the best-selling novel were thrilled. The cast announcements drew huge attention, and Hollywood watchers expected it to be a standout in Blake Lively's filmography. Justin Baldoni, beloved from his acting roles and praised for directing heartfelt stories, signed on as co-producer and director, adding to the anticipation. It seemed like a collaboration destined for success. Then, slowly, signs of trouble seeped into the conversation. On social media, background leaks suggested tension between Lively and Baldoni, rumors that she was exercising more control than a lead actor, or even a typical executive producer, would normally have. According to unverified whispers, major, easy script overhauls were pushed through under her direction, and certain scenes were retooled at her insistence. Justin Baldoni, typically praised for his collaborative spirit, seemed increasingly sidelined in the marketing and promotional aspects of the project. At first, fans brushed it off. Some argued that it was typical Hollywood politics, or that maybe Blake and Justin simply had different creative visions. But as the chatter grew, so did the speculation that something more serious was at play, a real power struggle in which one party allegedly overshadowed the other. When official statements stayed vague, rumor became fact in the minds of many. People began to wonder if the entire production was less about bringing a beloved story to life and more about feeding one star's ambition for behind-the-scenes influence. And that suspicion only grew when Justin Baldoni all but disappeared from the press tours, prompting fans to ask, why wasn't the original co-producer a more prominent face of his own project? As curiosity morphed into concern, the stage was set for a meltdown that neither side could easily contain. Little did anyone realize how big this controversy would soon become. Once the press caught wind of tension between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, the public reaction went into overdrive. Suddenly, timelines were flooded with posts picking apart everything from set photos to interview snippets, searching for clues that one or the other was to blame. But what set the internet ablaze was talk of a pending legal showdown. Word on the street was that Blake had levied accusations against Baldoni, claiming harassment or inappropriate behavior on set, allegations reminiscent of other high-profile Hollywood showdowns. Yet fans noticed a problem. Each new piece of evidence or insider tip seemed to contradict the prior claim. People began spotting holes in the narrative, fueling suspicion that maybe these accusations weren't as straightforward as they sounded. Then came the so-called receipts. Whispers emerged that Baldoni's team possessed text messages, emails, and behind-the-scenes footage that painted a very different story. One suggesting he was a victim of orchestrated sabotage, or that the misunderstanding stemmed more from cultural or personal differences than malicious intent. The sudden release of partial text threads appeared to support the idea that key facts might have been omitted or edited in Blake's initial accusations. Fans compared the situation to other notorious Hollywood legal battles, including that of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, where public sentiment flipped as soon as contradictory evidence was unveiled. Except this time, it happened even faster. Social media turned on Blake, branding her the new villain in a situation some found reminiscent of a Me Too moment gone wrong. Reactions became intense. Online forums were flooded with heated debates, angry commentary, and some truly vicious takedowns. Meanwhile, YouTube creators dove in, dissecting every rumor for millions of viewers. Blake's carefully curated Instagram comments turned sour, and fan accounts that once idolized her started going private or changing direction altogether. But the most surprising development was yet to come, and it involved the man she thought had her back. As the controversy snowballed, people wondered, where was Ryan Reynolds in all this? Ever the supportive husband, he'd often come to Blake's defense in the past. Initially, he stayed silent. But once he entered the conversation, fans quickly saw that maybe silence would have been better. Word spread that Ryan made off-the-cuff jokes about the lawsuit and the accusations at a high-profile event, trying to reduce the tension with humor. Unfortunately, the move came across as dismissive to many. Gossip outlets slammed him for trivializing what some believed were serious claims, while others felt it highlighted the possibility Blake's narrative might not be so dire if Ryan could joke about it. Either way, the reaction was swift and harsh. It didn't help that fans perceived a contradiction. If Blake was genuinely a victim, why was her husband cracking jokes about the situation on television or at industry galas? Online critics insisted his stance exposed that her allegations lacked substance. Supporters of Lively claimed it was just Ryan's comedic style. The rift widened, and soon, both halves of Hollywood's favorite couple were under fire, with social media now scrutinizing every tweet, interview, or statement they made. For Ryan, long considered one of Hollywood's most likable figures, this moment chipped away at his shiny veneer. If he was truly comfortable joking about the scandal, then perhaps the rest of the story wasn't so straightforward. Public confusion soared, and it became increasingly obvious that the negative spotlight was spreading from just Blake to the entire Reynolds Lively brand. But in Tinseltown, it's not just the fans you have to worry about. Once the industry's opinion turns, the stakes get far more serious. For a high-profile star, being the center of a nasty public dispute spells trouble with studios, directors, and producers. After all, Hollywood runs on reputation and leverage. The second your name carries more risk than reward, doors start shutting fast. Rumors swirled that several of Blake's upcoming projects were quietly reassessed by executives worried about potential backlash. Whispers indicated that phone calls and meetings were being rescheduled or outright canceled. Even hush-hush source quotes began popping up in industry trade publications, insinuating that some people on previous sets found working with Blake challenging. What made matters worse was a particular magazine cover, one that supposedly depicted Blake attacking Justin Baldoni in a cartoonish way. She claimed it was sexist, overshadowing her real concerns. But many argued the image symbolized what had really happened. Blake seemed to be using her star power to overshadow and undermine Baldoni. In the scramble to respond to this portrayal, her team tried to frame it as an example of the media disrespecting women. Yet plenty of individuals, both fans and insiders, weren't buying it, believing it was a distraction tactic to deflect attention from the deeper accusations of meddling and overreach. Gradually, a handful of once staunch celebrity supporters chose the silent route, hoping to distance themselves from the rising tide of negativity. You could feel the shift in Hollywood events, where once Blake and Ryan would draw a beeline of admirers, now people stepped back, not wanting to get caught up in the swirling drama. And that's not even considering the one person who seemed to glide through this chaos like it was a day at the beach. While Blake Lively grappled with allegations, plummeting popularity, and an industry eager to avoid bad PR, Justin Baldoni appeared strikingly unbothered. Footage of him surfing in Hawaii or smiling on low-key vacations popped up on social media, painting an image of a man who, despite being dragged into a bizarre feud, was simply living his life. Fans loved it. They saw him as calm, composed, and unflappable, in direct contrast to the swirling drama coming from Blake's corner. Supporters of Baldoni emphasized his spiritual background, pointing out that his Baha'i faith may have influenced his approach to conflict resolution. He rarely lashed out in the press. He let the legal process unfold as it needed to, releasing a few well-timed pieces of evidence to challenge Blake's narrative. The more he stayed quiet, the louder her critics became. It was almost as if her accusations imploded under their own weight. By keeping a low profile and offering minimal statements, Baldoni inadvertently controlled the story. His silence spoke volumes, making many question whether Blake's allegations were ever valid. In the blink of an eye, the hashtag war on social media flipped to Baldoni's favor. Public sentiment rallied around him, championing his right to protect his creative vision and condemning what they perceived as a smear campaign. But as much as Baldoni's victory in the court of public opinion matters, the bigger implications for Blake's career were even more striking. The cutthroat nature of Hollywood means that when controversy burns hot, it can set entire careers ablaze. Blake Lively, once seen as an indomitable force with offers pouring in, has found herself at the mercy of both fan sentiment and the industry's bottom line. Gone are the days when she could rely on a polished Instagram post or a charming late-night show appearance to smooth things over. Now, every move feels scrutinized. Any tweet, interview, or talk show joke might backfire. The media has latched onto this story of a rapid downfall, fueling constant speculation. Will she be dropped from a future project? Have certain directors banned her from their sets? Is her public apology, if it ever comes, going to be enough? It doesn't help that, alongside this scandal, the dynamic with Ryan Reynolds is under a microscope. The couple's brand was once pristine. Now cynics wonder how they'll navigate the damage and whether Ryan's comedic persona can survive the scrutiny if it appears he's making light of serious situations. If there's one lesson Hollywood has taught us repeatedly, it's that major studios don't like instability. They want stars who can pull audiences into theaters or streaming platforms without generating a PR crisis every other day. Right now, Blake Lively is veering dangerously close to that too risky label. And once that label sticks, it can follow you around for years, or even permanently. Yet even after all these setbacks, the real surprise came when more text, messages, and interview quotes surfaced, pointing to deeper manipulation behind the scenes. Blake Lively's transformation from revered icon to embattled celebrity is a dramatic cautionary tale. She rose to A-list status by exuding warmth, style, and sincerity, only to have an entire stack of rumored controlling behavior crash down around her. Her attempt to steer, or maybe even hijack, the It Ends With Us production backfired, leading to the brutal unveiling of clashing agendas, contradictory claims, and a spiraling legal mess. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's quiet composure and well-documented receipts turned public sentiment entirely in his favor, highlighting how damaging it can be when manipulations are exposed. The truth, or what appears to be the truth, has a way of surfacing, even in an industry filled with crafted illusions. And as Lively's multi-year persona cracks, those once loyal fans and Hollywood insiders might not extend their hands to lift her up again. Is there a redemption arc left for Blake? Hollywood adores a comeback story, but reputations can be fickle. If she's willing to do some genuine soul-searching, own her missteps, and address whatever happened behind the scenes, there might still be a slim chance to rebuild. But her margin for error is now razor-thin. Fans don't forget quickly, and neither does an industry that survives on careful deals and publicity management. Ultimately, whether Blake Lively can recover hinges on what she does next. Does she continue to push a narrative that fewer people believe? Or will she concede, apologize, maybe even step back to reevaluate her place in Hollywood? For now, all eyes remain on her every move. One thing is certain, the saga isn't over, and if the last few months are any indication, the twists are only going to get more intense. Stay tuned because the fallout from this scandal is far from reaching its final act. Thank you for watching. If you're curious about how this drama evolves, keep an eye on the industry buzz. Sometimes the biggest career-ending moments happen quietly behind closed doors. For now, the once untouchable Blake Lively stands at a crossroads, and whether she can reclaim the public's trust will be a journey watched by millions.